So I was 7, I think, when my parents told me that we were going to... Well, they didn't tell me. They kind of asked what we thought about the idea of us fostering. And to be honest, I didn't really know what fostering was. I kind of thought about like Tracy Beaker, and I thought we'd be running one of those care homes. Obviously, that wasn't what happened. But I remember being quite excited, but I don't think I really knew what it would be like. I think I just it was kind of romanticised a little bit, I think, in the sense of I kind of just thought I'd have like a sibling, like my birth sibling, which wasn't the case, but it's still been really good, but it's been more challenging, I think. But then I was 7, so I was quite little. And we had our first foster child when I was 8, and my birth brother was 6, I think. So I was in year 4. And I remember the receptionist at the school, if she came to the classroom, you knew you were going to have a sibling when you got home. It was just like, it was kind of like an inside joke with the class, like, oh, Miss Potter's come for Anna. We all knew that there'd be someone at the school gate with my mum. And I remember being so excited. And we only had that child for a few weeks, and it was fine. And then we had another one a few weeks later. And I think it was always so exciting, and it was kind of, in a sense, it built the 4 of us, like the birth family, as a stronger unit, because we had to be so much more intentional about our time together. So we would do like game evenings, or we'd go on like date nights, like me and my dad would go for a meal, or me and my mum would go bowling, or we'd just kind of be really intentional with our time, which I think actually improves all of our relationships with each other, rather than just kind of all living within a house because we kind of had to. Yeah. And my parents were really good about it. Like, they would just like be honest. If it's not working, it's not working. You're our priority, so let us know. And there were times where I was like, Mum, this isn't working. Can we go out for a drink, or can we like nip to the shops, just us two, because I need space, or something like that. And Mum and Dad were always really like open and on. Like, they were just very like, they listened to what we were saying. Yeah. So I never felt like we couldn't say how we felt about certain placements. And
so you felt safe being honest about your opinions.
Yeah. And the social workers were always very willing to hear what we had to say. I think Mum and Dad, in a sense, played on our conscience a little bit, in the sense of, these are like children that haven't had the same upbringing as me and Jamie. They haven't been as fortunate as us. And I think it really increased mine and Jamie's like compassion for people. So and obviously it was difficult to adapt, because you've got somebody that you don't know living in your house who does require a lot more attention. But I think the intentional time, it just helped us feel like a family still, and that it was just to make me and Jamie feel as valued as we were before, and that even though we loved and cared for all the foster kids, we were still Mum and Dad's priority in that sense.
And did you ever feel like it was you were missing out in any way, or there was time was spread too thinly for you? Or
I think when I went to secondary school, nobody knew, in the sense that I had foster kids, because they hadn't known me before having foster children. And talking to people, it was like, oh right, you don't have like strangers, I suppose, living in your house. And like hearing about things that they could do, like, you have to be very flexible when you've got foster children, and you have to be quite adaptable, and sometimes you don't get to do what you want. Where I think maybe if we were a birth family, just that, we might be able to have done more days out or bigger holidays and stuff. But actually I think my parents would have worked a lot more and not been at home as much, because they could have been, and they might have gone for the next job or whatever. So you might have missed out from a big holiday, but I would rather have my dad at home in the afternoons than go to Florida for 3 weeks rather than...
Yeah. So there's other gains to be
made.
Yeah,
exactly.
Making that. How have you found over the years other people's perceptions about being a foster family?
I suppose me and Jamie have a really big sense of pride when it comes to being a foster family. I'll quite happily tell people. Some people's reactions, they're not nice. I think people are just really uneducated about what it is to either be fostered or be a foster family. And I quite enjoy saying, actually, no, that's not right. This is what it's like. And I really enjoy like telling people, and I think on the whole, people are quite like open to it. They're quite excited to meet foster children that we've had. And it also is quite a bit of a test of a friendship, and I suppose it's like, if you can't accept my like foster sibling with the needs that they have, then we're not really going to be that good friends. Which I know sounds a bit mean, but actually like it helped me like decide who was worth sticking around, and who actually was just a friend for lesson time or break.
And I think from my experience, there's still some myths that exist around either who can foster or what children in care are like. What kind of myths have you come across that you've been able to challenge?
I think a lot of people think that if someone's fostered, they will never be able to be like a birth child in a family setting, where like people will just be like, oh, they're so difficult all the time. And actually they have their moments. Like there have been times where I've been like, oh my goodness. But for like 90% of the time, you wouldn't think that we were a foster family, the way that we can behave around each other and the way that we can go on holiday together or go on a day out together. Where I think some people think that you can't do those things with a foster child. Well, actually, we are like a normal family unit. But every now and again, the unit changes slightly with a different person in it.
And how would you say your relationship's been with the different foster children that you've had?
I think naturally you get on better with different people and different ages. For example, like when you've got a baby, you're not going to watch TV together. But when most of our placements have been children that would have actually been a sibling, if like age-wise, like they've been a few years younger than Jake, the youngest, Jamie, or they've kind of been in between our ages, so they could have been a sibling. And sometimes like you don't particularly get on, but then there's also times where I don't particularly get on with my birth sibling. And like actually, you know, that placements worked quite well when you will act like actual siblings, in the sense of you won't be afraid to argue with each other about who's watching TV. Or you won't, but then 10 minutes later you'll all be watching the same film really happily.
So it's like a normal family environment for everyone.
Most of the time,
And how would you say it's kind of changed the dynamic or relationship that you have with your sibling or your mum and dad?
I think, if anything, it's probably brought me and Jamie closer, because you kind of have this natural bond anyway as birth siblings of like, oh yeah, we're together. But I think that's been strengthened by having somebody else in the house, and it hasn't been like cliquey or like exclusive, but it's actually, we've had a lot of things happen to us, or like good or bad, which a lot of other siblings haven't had, and we can kind of joke about it and we can laugh about it and we can kind of open up to each other. And when we have a new sibling, it's so funny, one of the first things we used to do was we'd go into each other's rooms and be like, so what are you thinking? Like, what do you think about this? Did you see when they did that? Like, and we'd kind of like download to each other. And in between placement is actually when we'd argue the most.
Wow.
Because we didn't have somebody else to dilute.
A common discussion point.
And then with my mum and dad, I mean, it's hard to say because it's been 10 years almost. So I don't know what it would have been like, but I definitely know they wouldn't be at home as much, which I think's been the biggest thing. And like where me, my mum and my dad are all really close. And I think it is just how intentional they were, where I don't know if they would have been so intentional because there wouldn't have been a reason to be. Where I think if we didn't have foster kids and stuff, we would have all just been in a house, which is obviously fine. But I don't think we would have been like, oh, let's go for a Costa or let's go out for a meal. Because we just think that we were a tight family unit where we had to really go out of our way to keep the unit.
A step back to be aware of everyone's needs.
Exactly. And so I think it's probably made our relationships better. And also like, because I could be so honest about how I felt about the foster children, it's meant that I know I can be honest about so many other situations in my life. But it's kind of been like building up trust with each other. Through that, so that it doesn't just stick to that, but it filters into everything else.
I guess the trust and communication that's important when a child's coming into your house. has that knock-on effect with everyone in the house. And then what would you say in terms of your views going forwards and your future ambitions? Do you think they've been changed or influenced in any way from your experiences?
Yeah, I think I'm less about going for like these amazing careers where you're top dog and you're kind of earning thousands and millions of pounds or whatever. I think my like compassion and patience has definitely grown over the experience, and I think like looking into the future, like family wise, fostering and adoption is definitely something that I want to pursue, and I don't know when that would be, or like if I'd have birth children as well as like foster children and stuff. But I feel like I'd be doing like an injustice to my like childhood by not doing it, because it's been such a positive experience on the whole, and it's definitely something that I want to continue. And I just think it has influenced me, and I think like I'm hoping to apply for medicine in October, and I don't think I would have done that if I hadn't. I think I've done something maybe more like, I don't really know, but less people orientated,
more business,
maybe more business, like, or kind of a bit more like a lone type career where actually I want to help as many people as I can. And I think that actually fostering has given me so many skills with like patience and compassion, but also like communication. Like some of the kids, their English hasn't been their first language, or it hasn't been particularly clear, so you have to find alternative methods, and that's obviously gonna help me in the future. And like career wise, it's it sounds so bad, but it's such a good thing to put on your CV or your personal statement, because it's so unique. And like people are really intrigued by it.
And it sounds like you've been quite involved with, you know, influencing and supporting children that have come through. Would you say that they identify with you and your brother more easily because of a closer age, do you think? Do they develop a bond with you in a quicker way or a different way?
That's interesting. I think it does vary for each like child that's come through. And often we've actually, as a family, we've only ever had boys. So I've always never had a sister. It's okay, I've recovered. But like we've had some, and like they've just had similar hobbies to us. So there was one who just absolutely loved football, and at the time Jamie loved football, so they could just go and play in the garden, and that's a really easy way for the boys to bond. And like that child had never really played football with anybody their own age before, or they'd only ever played it in the schoolyard because of their like background. And I think being similar ages, or ages which it's not obvious they're a foster child, has been really beneficial to them, because it just means when we're out and about, like just going to the park, it's not obvious that they're different to us, and I think that makes them feel more included. Because it's not like, oh, I'm the foster kid again, or like they're not labelled as easily or as noticeably. And I do think they can identify with me and Jamie as much as possible. I mean, it might be hard because they're coming into a family unit that's quite strong, but we've always been as inclusive as we can, and we have done like family nights and always included the foster child in some situations. But I think it can also be really beneficial for them to be within a family unit, because they've got kids their own age, they've got somebody to play with, and they've got someone to chat to that isn't just a foster parent or a foster carer, and it can make them feel kind of not more loved, but kind of like more normal. It's not just them and one other person living in a house, which is just as great, but I think each side has different benefits.
And I guess there's more for them to learn from, in terms of seeing the family dynamic and how people interact and communicate, and
it probably sets them up for quite a good family life when they're older, because they've seen a healthy one. Where lots of time they probably haven't seen a healthy family lifestyle.
And then a final question, unless there's anything else, is what would you say to anyone who's considering becoming foster carer, that already has children and maybe has that as a concern?
I mean, obviously, with it being so good, I would just say do it. But I think it's really important just to sit down with your own birth children, like my parents did, and just explain, like, and be really real and honest about like the worst case scenario, but also the best case scenario. And it's not like the be all and end all. Like if you start fostering and you do 2 or 3 placements and actually go, oh, this isn't for us, you can stop. And I think it's opening up the conversation with the birth children, like, just be honest with us. If it's not working, it's not working, and that's okay, and not being angry or disappointed, but just doing it as an experience and doing it all together, and not doing, oh, that's something that my mum and dad are doing, and it's not affecting me, because it is going to affect the birth children. And I think it's affected me and Jamie positively, but it's not being naive about what will happen about it.